Welcome to the Conservatory of Music here at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. This coming weekend, November 8th and 9th, the Lynn Philharmonia will present a concert of concertos played by the 4 winners of the Conservatory's recent concerto competition. With us today are those winners. Kawasaki, who will play the flute concerto of Carl Nielsen, Paola Nava, who will be the soloist in Eduard Lalo's Symphonie Espagnole, Liyang Liu, who will play the violin concerto of Pyotr Tchaikovsky, and Hanting Peng, who will be the soloist in the variations on a nursery song of Ernst von Dohnanyi. We'll speak briefly with each of these 4 musicians. Hanting, the Dohnanyi contains quite a workout for the soloist. What is the biggest challenge for you in performing this piece?
And the biggest challenge for me is to transfer the different variations because it has 13 variations in 13 different styles. It contains Baroque and classic and contemporary. So each variation have the different style, but I just have two seconds to transfer in between each variations.
Paola, the Lalo Symphony was written for the great Spanish violinist Pablo de Sarasate and evokes the music of Spain. What do you do as the soloist to convey this work's special flavor and style?
First of all, the understanding of this piece and something that I'm very careful about when I play in this concerto is, even that it's really difficult, technically, is to create differences between the movements and understand the different types of dances from Spain. And the hardest part, I think, in each movement, I think the lyric places, because it has rhythm patterns, but also in the lyric parts, I need to switch my color and articulation to create a different atmosphere when playing with the orchestra.
Liyang, the Tchaikovsky concerto starts with a famous melody, has a melancholy slow movement, and ends with a virtuoso race to the finish. How do you pace yourself to give it a successful performance?
This concerto is really easy to play the first movement, really pushing really hard and play it really passionate, but it feels like the first movement is whole concerto. And other people will not interested about the second or third. Even the third is very passionate, but the people will feel very tired about that. So pacing this concerto is very important. I will not pushing the first movement very, very hard. I will play the more lyric and more gentle, and feels like just the first movement, and you will be interested about the second and third. Yeah.
And the Nielsen concerto has come into its own relatively recently as a must-play repertory work for flutists. But it's a very different sort of piece than the other works on this Philharmonia program. What makes it special, and how do you get that across?
Although the Nielsen concerto is in the orchestral concerto repertoire, because of its chamber-like qualities, it does act a little bit more uniquely than I think some of the rest of the concertos. I know when Nielsen initially composed the piece, he was trying to write a piece for each of the 5 quintet members that he worked closely with, and to really showcase that instrument in its best form. Same thing with the Tchaikovsky. The first piece in itself is kind of a complete work, and then the second piece, or second movement, acts more of a nice little erratic, angry, childlike character change there.
What is different about playing a concerto than playing a solo piece or chamber music?
So I think the biggest difference between the chamber music and the concerto is the cooperate about between you and the orchestra, and you have to project your sound to the back of the theater, so you need to think about the distance between you and the audience. And it's really interesting because when you saw the back of the theater and you think about that, your sound will be really project better.
I think it's really exciting. For me, it's not the first time I'm going to play a soloist with orchestra, but it's the first time I'm going to play Lalo. And for me, it's really challenging because this Symphonie Espagnole is 5 movements long. So I need to be really creative, for the public to be engaged in all the movements. And for me, it's amazing to play this piece because for me, it's like a travel for Spain. I want to people could listen that like each movement has a different dances and colors and emotions because it's really emotional, and I think that's the most important to be a soloist, like engage the public with the music, and they after a concert they can remember the most important things.
I think it has so many different things. Like if I play the solo, I will show my best thinking and my best performance, just for me to show to the audience. I can do some very beautiful and precise things on the only one piano. But if I play with orchestra, I have to listen with orchestra and put the orchestra for the number one, and then I cannot always do anything for me in the first.
I think when I was a lot younger, I used to be scared of playing solo flute repertoire more than with a collaboration, because back then I was like, oh, if anything happens, everyone else around me has my back. But I think in reality, a concerto is a little bit more challenging because there's so many different other factors going on. In chamber, we have to figure out the detail, make sure everyone's matching the shortness of the note, the colors, all of the above. But then we have to do that tenfold with so many more members of the orchestra, making sure you and the conductor, which, we love Maestro Figaro, but I think making sure we have the same ideas and same vision, and that we're able to create something beautiful at the end. It's definitely a nice challenge in itself.
Thanks, Hanting, Paola, Liyang, and I. Congratulations on winning the competition. Audiences can see all 4 of these terrific young players on Saturday evening, November 8th, and Sunday afternoon, November 9th, at the Wold Performing Arts Center here on the campus of Lynn University. We'll see you there.